Chuku Umunna, great to have you on the program. You're pro-Europe. I know you've been calling for either a softer Brexit or even, I believe, a second referendum. But overall, what does your party stand for? What does the Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, want when it comes to the relationship of the UK and the EU?
Well, in both of the main parties in the UK, there are a variety of views. So neither party is wholly united on what its Brexit position should be. And that's because our country is divided on this issue too. Personally, I think it's very clear now that we're going to end up with a bad deal that destroys hundreds of thousands of jobs and will affect millions of people in our country. And that's why I believe that this isn't an issue which, when it comes to a head and an agreement is hopefully reached at the end of this year in the autumn, in the fall, I don't believe that 650 members of parliament should be the ones who have a voice alone on that issue. I believe there should be a people's vote on the final terms of the Brexit deal so the British people can make a decision on this.
Why do you think we're going to have a bad deal? Isn't it a little bit too early to say? We're going to have the white paper at the moment. If you look at the markets, which usually are a good indication of the way things go, pound is up. So it doesn't look like it's a bad deal.
Well, it is going to be a bad deal, and let me explain why. Based on the government's own economic analysis, every single option short of staying in the European Union is going to damage our economy. So this is an issue of damage limitation. And what the government's own economic analysis says is that the least damaging options are for us to stay in the European Economic Area, in the EU single market, and to stay part of the customs union. And the Prime Minister has ruled both of those things out, as did the Cabinet on Friday just past. They said, we will not do that. So we know this is going to destroy people's jobs. And of course, there's a lot of excitement here in Westminster and breathless commentary on the fact that 2 ministers have resigned and Dominic Raab is replacing one of them. But those are 3 people's jobs. What I'm really concerned about are the hundreds of thousands of jobs that we know depend on this, and which the government's own economic analysis says are at risk because of what the government is doing. So any notion that this is a so-called soft Brexit is fantasy. And actually, Dominic Raab, who you just mentioned, has been appointed as the UK's new Brexit Secretary. Raab, he is a hard Brexiter. So that should disabuse anybody of the notion that we're going into soft Brexit territory now.
I think, Minister, some of the background that we need here is that your constituency, I believe, had the highest percentage of Remain of any constituency in the United Kingdom. What is your counsel to the Remainers of the Conservative Party? What do they need to do to actually shift this dialogue from the warfare that's going to bring down a prime minister?
I didn't quite hear that, but I think ultimately any member of parliament, this isn't about whether you're Labour or Conservative. Let's be clear about this. This is the biggest generation facing biggest issue in a generation facing Britain, the biggest since the Second World War. And we will never be forgiven if we act in party, political or personal interests when we're deciding what to do here. You've got to do what's right for the country and right for your community. And that's always been my message to Labour and Conservative colleagues alike. And I know privately that a lot of Conservative members of Parliament believe that we need to stay in the single market and the customs union to avoid whatever happens at the end of this process doing huge damage to the economy of this country. And look, I'm absolutely clear. If it was up to me, we wouldn't be doing Brexit at all. But if we are, I would like to see us do it in the least damaging way possible.
Yeah, but the least damaging way, you could question whether it's Brexit at all. But actually, my point, going back to the new appointment of the person that is replacing Mr. David Davis, which is, of course, Dominic Raab, he's a hardliner, which would suggest that Theresa May is in charge, right? If she manages to accept a pro-Brexit, hardline Brexit person to come into her cabinet, isn't this a smart move? She's now firmly in charge.
Well, nominally, she's been in charge over the last 2 and a bit years as Prime Minister. But, I mean, taking what's happened here, it's taken 2 years for the British Cabinet to come to a single view on how to deal with Brexit. And once they came to agreement on that single view on Friday. That has then been followed by resignations. So she's a prime minister seemingly in office, yeah, but I'm not sure how powerful she is. And ultimately, we've seen shambles, we've seen chaos. It's an embarrassment, frankly. This is an embarrassment. When I have been talking to the foreign ministers, ambassadors and heads of government of other member states of the European Union, it's fashionable here in the UK to say, oh, they're just trying to punish us for leaving. But the truth of the matter is they say to me, what is the position of your country, of your government? If only we knew what it was, then we could move forward with these negotiations. And Francine, the fundamentals remain the same. We have a big problem, which is whatever deal we have, we want to ensure that it doesn't lead to the erection of a hard border on the island of Ireland, between Northern Ireland and the Republic. And currently, there is no solution whatsoever to that conundrum. And that's just that. These are the fundamentals, not these ministers coming and going. This is soap opera. Yep. That is a fundamental issue which is unchanged by what has happened over the last 24 hours.
Yeah, although now it looks like we have a white paper to now send it to Europe and see their comments and get it back. Chuka, thank you so much, as always. Chuku Umunna, their UK Labour MP for Streatham, joining us this morning from Westminster.